Good morning. Woo. Good morning to you guys. Farzine Vasugian here for another episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. This is too damn early for me. Way too early. It is 7:06 a.m. This is most definitely the earliest I have ever done a podcast or a live stream. No, I do not ever look like this. All good and ready to go with my day at 7:07 a.m. I can confirm that right now. But hey, breaking news, special occasion, got to do a live stream, of course. DeAndre Hopkins has been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, as you all see in the headline of this live stream and the podcast here. The Chiefs have acquired a wide receiver. I'll say it right now, I was wrong. I was dead wrong about this one. I thought Kansas City would not be able to acquire a wide receiver given the cap situation, and we're still waiting on the details on that right now. But my God, Brett freaking Veach. This guy does not sleep. Absolutely does not sleep. Listen, I don't understand the constant bitching and moaning, even from Chiefs fans, about Brett Veach. I even saw last night someone was complaining about Brett Veach. And it's like, listen, it might just be one or two. It's one or two few too many. It is too many. Like, come on. You can't ever just doubt this guy's abilities as a general manager and everything he's done for this football team. We've gone over it many times. And listen, I know a lot of you guys probably have places to be on a Wednesday morning getting ready for work. So I want to try to wrap this podcast up as soon as possible. I feel bad for people on the West Coast. I mean, they're asleep right now. They don't even know this news. They have absolutely no idea. But yes, the Chiefs have traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Listen, I know it's bright and early in the morning, but if you guys have anything to say, I want to hear from you guys in the comments, and they'll get to the comments shortly. So get your coffee, get your milk, your waffles, your pancakes, your scrambled eggs, whatever you got to do. Get all of that, form your thoughts, because I really want to read your comments here. I'm seeing mostly positive reactions from Chiefs fans about DeAndre Hopkins. There are a few out there kind of pushing back about this, not really too happy, kind of concerned about his health right now. Because here's what Brian Callahan, the head coach of the Titans, he did a press conference on Monday and had said that Hopkins is dealing with some lower leg soreness. People think that's like the worst injury in the world you could deal with, a lower leg soreness. Folks, did you not see that Davante Adams was quote unquote injured? Did you guys not see that news when he was a member of the Raiders? And then he gets traded to the Jets. Oh, what do you know? Mr. Miyagi magically healing that ankle of his. It's like the injury never happened. So calm down. The whole situation with Hopkins and him, quote unquote soreness, relax. Like the reason teams do this stuff, the reason Davante Adams was not playing for the Raiders, if you are a football fan with a brain, you could look at the Davante Adams situation in Vegas and be like, yeah, he's getting traded. If you see him getting inactive week after week, that is how you knew his time in Vegas was over. I mean, no one just suddenly has an ankle injury. Like, let's be real here. So whatever DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with, and I know he's dealt with some injuries in the past, it's not anything to be concerned about. Listen, let me just go over DeAndre Hopkins' resume here. And I know a lot of it is not relevant to right now, but I still think it's something to go over. Played with the Texans from 2013 to 2019, was a first-round pick, late first-rounder that year in 2013. Imagine that. Another player the Chiefs could have had DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce in the same draft class. Imagine that. Went to Arizona for a couple of years, goes over to Tennessee, was waiting for Kansas City to get him, but unfortunately, and we've gone over this before, that was when Chris Jones, that whole thing was going on with the Chiefs. And they were trying to sign him to a long-term deal, and the Chiefs were kind of in a bind with the salary cap, so they couldn't afford DeAndre Hopkins. So he went over to Tennessee, and it was not a really good season for the Titans. They go from Ryan Tannehill to Will Levis, who's their starting quarterback right now. And DeAndre Hopkins still was the team leader in receiving yards, just over 1,000 receiving yards, and had 7 touchdowns. Listen, that's better than any wide receiver the Chiefs had last year. That's for damn sure. Yeah, sure. Rashee Rice got going late in the season, but still, Hopkins still better than any Chiefs wide receiver last year. This year, Hopkins not off to the greatest start when you look at his numbers with the Titans. Again, he's 32 years old, turned 32 in June. This season, in 6 games, he has 15 catches for off 21 targets for 173 yards and a touchdown on the season. Again, is that really a reflection of DeAndre Hopkins, what he's capable of? Absolutely not. If he was cut today, and by the way, I do have this on from a really good source that I trust. The Buccaneers were actually very close to getting DeAndre Hopkins. They were pursuing him aggressively following their Monday Night Football situation. We actually were doing a podcast live during Monday night, so I saw the Mike Evans injury as it happened, but I didn't know the severity of it in the moment. But we did learn yesterday that he's going to be out for a few weeks. And Chris Godwin, another good receiver for them, he's also hurt as well. So Tampa Bay is a team that is aggressively pursuing a wide receiver right now. And there were a lot of rumors yesterday about Cooper Kupp, and I'll get to Cooper Kupp in a minute, because I'll say this. I don't know if Kansas City's done yet. I'm not expecting anything else. But with Brett Veach, I don't know if you really, if that's a smart thing to really write off the Chiefs. You guys all know about writing off the Chiefs. You just don't do that kind of thing. But when you look at Tennessee this season, I mean, you see DeAndre Hopkins, his numbers are not that thrilling. But there's a reason why the Bucs are pursuing him. I mean, yeah, sure, they're dealing with injuries, but so is Kansas City. Kansas City, you know, if we're being honest, in the first week of August, they didn't really need DeAndre Hopkins, nor did the Bucs. But unfortunately, both teams have been derailed with injuries at the wide receiver position. For the Chiefs, it's been happening throughout the year. Hollywood Brown, the injury worse than we thought. Rashee Rice suffers a season-ending injury early in the season. Juju Smith-Schuster brought in, but unfortunately, he's dealing with some injuries recently now. The Bucs, I mean, they just got hit like that in one game with 2 big injuries there. So, I mean, you have some teams going out there pursuing DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm sure there were other teams considering Hopkins on their team, but Brett Veach came in there and made that big move. Look, I'll be honest. When I saw, because a couple of you guys tagged me early in the morning, that's how I found out about this. It was like 5:59 or 6 a.m. And I saw a couple of you guys tag me. I was like, no, this has to be like a fake Adam Schefter account posting. There's no way at 6 a.m. No way. Yes way. Yes way indeed. Anyway, when you look at the whole situation there, and by the way, as far as the details of the trade, the Chiefs are sending a 5th rounder that can get to a 4th rounder. So obviously, one of those draft picks where for now it's a 5th rounder, but can change at some point. If you're Kansas City, how does this help your offense? Well, I think with DeAndre Hopkins, it definitely allows him to do his thing. He's going to need some time to learn the offense. And I see people in the comments already asking, is he going to play against the Raiders this Sunday? I would be shocked if DeAndre Hopkins is on the field Sunday. I'm sure he's going to be with the team and all traveling and whatnot. I would say his NFL debut is going to come on Monday Night Football, not this coming Monday, the Monday after, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that is when DeAndre Hopkins will play his first game as a member of the Chiefs. Because you got to take a little bit of time to learn the offense. I mean, look at Kareem Hunt. He came back. He was on the practice squad first and then was promoted to the main roster for the Chargers game. And obviously, he's been a big part of the offense since then. So I don't think Hopkins is going to play this Sunday. I would be shocked if that was the case. If he is, I'm not complaining. I mean, listen, who would you rather have? Sky Moore or DeAndre Hopkins, who only knows maybe 5 plays on the playbook? I will take DeAndre Hopkins, who only knows 5 plays on the playbook, over Sky Moore at this rate. I'm reading some of the comments right now here. Yeah, a lot of people saying this is great news. If he can stay healthy. I mean, listen, the injury bug, it has not been kind to Kansas City. No, not at all. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the Chiefs. Susie said, "Who did the Chiefs trade? Not Sky Moore. They traded a conditional fifth. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But man, this is Robert says it's 4 a.m. where he is, or where it was 4 a.m. when he saw the news. Yeah, wild. Very few people up in the West Coast right now. I think availability might play a role in that conditional draft pick that the Chiefs are sending. But listen, you have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Travis Kelce, who hasn't gotten off to the best start. He's had a couple of good games against the Saints and against the Chargers. This past week, not really the greatest game, 4 catches for 17 yards against the 49ers. And I'll get to that in a moment, too, the 49ers thing, even though we've kind of touched on the 49ers game already. But I think there's a point to make about that. You have Xavier Worthy, who has had some flashes. He's had some good moments here, and he's done some things to help this team. I think the connection between him and Mahomes have been off a little bit. The play where Mahomes threw the interception when Worthy slipped as soon as Mahomes threw the football, the play before, Worthy burned the defensive back that was covering him, and Mahomes throws that deep shot, and they were off by just a hair. If they can continue to work on that, and I think part of it, it comes with experience, they'll be able to hit on those plays. Listen, Patrick Mahomes has overthrown Tyreek Hill in the past. He's done it with McCall Hardman, Sammy Watkins, guys who are a big part of that Legion of Zoom several years ago, if you guys remember. So I definitely think that'll help. Juju Smith-Schuster, yes, he's dealing with a hamstring injury right now, but it's a hammy. It's not a season-ending injury. And if it is, this would be the most gruesome hamstring injury of all time. But Juju is expected to come back. And I know a lot of people are thinking about Hollywood Brown. Could he come back for the playoffs? Listen, I don't know. That's too far away right now, so we can't really think too much about that. But I think DeAndre Hopkins, once he gets a good understanding and a grasp of Andy Reid's playbook and can build that on-field chemistry and rapport with Patrick Mahomes, I think it's definitely going to make an impact. I definitely think. Listen, Devontae Adams, he's played with Aaron Rodgers before, but look at how things went in his first game. He was targeted 9 times and only caught 3 balls from Rodgers. Is that going to happen every single game? No, of course not. So it doesn't matter if you have familiarity or not with somebody, whether it's the coach that creates the scheme or the quarterback. Coming into any system brand new during a season, it's always going to take time to adjust. 100% going to take time to adjust. So give it time. If you see Hopkins in that first game, which I think is going to be the Monday Night Football game against the Bucs, I don't think he's going to light it up in his first game. And listen, if he does, I'll be surprised. Kelce 1,000 yards can still happen due to Taylor. I mean, listen, the power of the Swifties, anything is still possible. But I disagree, Zane, respectfully. I hope it happens. But I don't think that's he would need to have a lot of big games moving forward. And listen, I still think Kelce can be a big part of your offense. I know, again, he's gotten off to a very slow start, but I do think this really helps open things. Why was 2018 such a good year for Kansas City? Because I remember when the Chiefs got Sammy Watkins, a lot of people were not very excited about the Sammy Watkins edition. Well, look what Sammy Watkins was not brought in that year to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs. He was brought in to help add to Kansas City's offense because you had Tyreek Hill. Everyone knows Tyreek Hill and what he can do. Same with Travis Kelce. They both had 1,000 receiving yards that year. And if I recall correctly, that was also the same year Tyreek Hill broke the single season franchise record for receiving yards. And then you look at Travis Kelce, he broke the NFL record for most receiving yards by a tight end in a single season. Now, 20 minutes later, George Kittle broke that same record. But then, by the way, for people asking, is it true that the Chiefs really get DeAndre Hopkins? No, you guys got me. I just made this shit up. I'm sorry. Okay, podcast is over. Come on. You guys all know the social media algorithm, how it works. You put fake news out there, man, it gets taken down pretty quickly. Like, come on. You guys know I don't make shit up. Would I lie to you guys? Come on. But anyway, my point was the 2018 offense. Why was it so great? Because it wasn't just Travis Kelce. It wasn't just Tyreek Hill. That was an offense that had a lot of explosive players. And then they brought in McCole Hardman the following year. Obviously, the reason they brought him in, crazy circumstances, and I don't want to get into that because I know we're getting into so many rabbit holes right now. But Tyreek Hill gets hurt in the first game of Travis Kelce, throwing to McCole Hardman. Demarcus Robinson even had a couple of big games. He dominated the Raiders in that week 2 game. So the okay, what can you guys hear me? I'm seeing the comments. People are saying that I dropped. And unfortunately, there's always a delay in these streams here. So I'll ask a question, but then I don't know if people, people are in the comments are saying that I'm out. Yeah, my internet. Oh, you guys hear me? Okay, great, awesome, lovely. Yeah, I don't know what happened, guys. I am using technology I've never used before. My internet's back now, but I can't really switch to it because then I'll get disconnected again. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to explain what happened. Where was I? I was talking about 2018 and 19 and how year. Oh yeah. You know, speaking of good depth, the Chiefs have the following players under contract right now. I'm just going to read wide receivers for now. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins. Those are 5 wide receivers who are under contract with the Chiefs right now. Imagine that. Imagine that. It's like, why couldn't we have gotten Hopkins in August? I mean, I'm being facetious. I know why. Like, you can't get everybody. So it is kind of weird how it all pans out at the end of the day for Kansas City. But this is the hand you're dealt with. This is what you have to deal with. That's just the way things have worked out. And you know what I really appreciate about Brett Veach? This is not a guy that I think Brett Veach has really installed something different in the culture. Like Andy Reid, keep in mind, Andy Reid came from the Eagles. He was fired. He comes to Kansas City, tries to turn a 2-14 team around, and he really did change the culture here in Kansas. The Chiefs have not had a losing season under Andy Reid since 2013. Every single year he's been here. Only one season they missed the playoffs, and it was by half a game, a tiebreaker, essentially. But when you look at Brett Veach, I think he's installed a new type of culture in this franchise. And what do I mean by that? When you look at the Chiefs, what happened in Super Bowl 55? Terrible offensive line play. Well, what did Brett Veach do? He didn't just, complain about it. He went and was very aggressive trying to bring in offensive linemen to turn this franchise around. Because if you have a great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, awesome. But if you don't have an offensive line protecting him, well, then your quarterback is not really worth much. He doesn't have a lot of value if he doesn't have an offensive line protecting him. But Veach went out there, revamped that entire offensive line in one offseason. And in this past offseason, given the drops and everything that happened last year, he revamps the wide receiver room in one offseason. Unfortunately, Rice coming off a rookie season, he gets hurt. Hollywood's injury worse than we thought. We don't really know if he can play in the playoffs. Again, that's months away, so we don't know yet. But he's not just sitting around twiddling his thumb. Look at the Chiefs last year. They had, a couple of embarrassing losses last season to the Broncos and to the Raiders. But this was not a football team that just kind of sat around feeling bad for themselves and feeling sorry for themselves. No, they just went right back to work on Monday and came back Wednesday for the install for practice and got ready and got back at it on game day. And they won 11 games, which, by Kansas City standard, that's not great. But any team that wins 11 football games, that's a damn good season. The only team that, can win 11 games and misses the playoffs, it was the New England Patriots led by Matt Castle. That's the only time I can recall a team ever winning 11 games and missing the playoffs. And maybe it's happened one or two other times, but it almost never, ever happens. So 11 wins is a damn good season for any football team. For Kansas City, it didn't feel like 11 wins because the drops and all the offensive issues were different. DeAndre Hopkins, I can't remember what year this was. I think this was I remember the number for whatever reason. I just have this number remembered. Okay, it was 2018. 2018. I remember the number 115. DeAndre Hopkins caught 115 passes that year. He was targeted 163 times. He dropped the ball 0 times that year. Now, that was 2018, but your hands don't change with your age. I mean, they just don't. Has he dropped passes over the years? Yeah, he has, but very, very minimal. So DeAndre Hopkins does bring a whole new element to Kansas City where ball protection is definitely a thing. And again, even at 32 years old, he's still playing at a very high level. Again, this season may not be his best looking, but who's his freaking quarterback? It's Will Levis, okay? The Titans are a disaster from top to bottom. There's a reason why they were shopping Hopkins. They're looking for the draft picks. So I'm excited for this. I do think Hopkins is going to need a little bit of time to get an understanding of the offense and learn the playbook, but I think he'll eventually play. And my guess would be that Tampa Bay game is going to be the first one here. Now, mentioned Cooper Kupp earlier in the podcast, and there were a lot of rumors yesterday that the Chiefs would go after Cooper Kupp. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is not Cooper Kupp. He's still a member of the LA Rams. And I think a lot of people are wondering, could Cooper Kupp go to a team like Pittsburgh that needs a little bit of help on offense? The Bucs that are, they're having a good season, but they just lost 2 very good wide receivers. But what about the Chiefs? Could the Chiefs still be in the mix for Cooper Kupp, which again would be interesting because they're just adding on to all this wide receiver room, both active and inactive players. Let me say this. I don't expect it. I'm not expecting the Chiefs to get Cooper Kupp. I don't know salary cap wise how that works. And by the way, the salary cap situation, let me just see if I can look something up real quick with the Chiefs and their cap situation. I don't think it'll be updated anytime soon, maybe within the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's see. Cap space right now shows $4.1 million on overthecap.com. It was 4.9. Hopkins, is he on this? Okay, this website does not include Hopkins on the roster yet, so I'm not fully sure when that's going to get updated. I'm sure it'll get updated today or tomorrow at the latest, but we have to wait and see how the salary cap situation is going to go there. So the Chiefs gave up a conditional 5th round pick, could be a 4th round pick. You know what Kansas City has? They still have a draft pick from Tennessee. Coincidentally, the team they just traded with. If you guys recall, in the offseason in March, they got a 3rd round pick for L'Jarius Sneed. And a lot of people, including me, kind of questioned that pick and wondered, the trade rather. A 3rd round pick, that's it for Sneed? But I'm kind of wondering, I don't think the Chiefs are done. Because you have a 1st round pick, a 2nd round pick, and 2 3rd round picks. That can really help you do something here. That L'Jarius Sneed trade, that can really help do something at this point. Marmar says, fix the tackle issues. Look, I'll just say this right now. I actually said earlier in the week, I would rather the Chiefs get an offensive tackle than a wide receiver, because I truly do believe that if the Chiefs fix their offensive tackles, I think Mahomes can win with anyone. Now, would you prefer to throw to Sky Moore or DeAndre Hopkins? I'll let you guys answer that question, but I still do truly believe that I think any of the offensive issues you're seeing this season, I think a huge part of it has to do with the poor offensive tackle play. The interior offensive line is great. It's awesome. But unfortunately, the tackle play has not been very good this year. It has not been very good the past the 2 years before the season. But I'm just looking right now. What offensive tackles are available? None. So if you can't fix the offensive tackle issue right now, the next best thing is to go out there and get yourself a big name wide receiver. And this fits that need for Kansas City. Let me tell you guys something about Kansas City right now in the whole wide receiver situation. What did they do in 2022? They traded for Kadarius Toney. What happened? Kadarius Toney had the biggest punt return in Super Bowl history and helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl that year. What did the Chiefs do last year? They traded for Mecole Hardman, bringing him back from the Jets. And then what happened? The Chiefs won Super Bowl 58 in overtime, the game-winning touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman. You guys noticing a trend there? The Chiefs have now traded for DeAndre Hopkins. And I think this is now a situation where DeAndre Hopkins, he could be the guy that follows that trend right behind Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman. So, man, I'm hoping that trend happens. DeAndre Hopkins has never won a Super Bowl before. This is why he wanted to come to Kansas City originally, but unfortunately, it was taking too long, and the Chiefs just weren't in a situation to sign him because of the salary cap situation. I really was not a big fan, and Charlie, I appreciate you sharing this. As far as your other comment about Amarius Mims, I saw Nick Wright project him to come to Kansas City, and I wasn't really a big fan of that. He's just dealt with a lot of injury issues, and I don't know. I wasn't too big of a fan. I was excited for the Kingsley pick, but unfortunately, Kingsley Suamataia has not looked great. He got yanked in week 2, and we have not seen him back as a starting left tackle. I remember Wanye Morris got hurt for a little bit. I think it was the Monday night game against the Saints. And we saw Kingsley in there for a few snaps, but then they went back to Wanye Morris. So I'm not really sure at the moment right now what the Chiefs are going to do at offensive tackle. I probably won't do anything with it this year, but definitely have to do something about it next year if you want a chance to. I don't know if you can 4-peat, quad-peat, but if you want to, at the very least, there we go. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the internet today, guys. I think the internet is a Titans fan. The Wi-Fi, inside that modem, there was like a Tennessee Titans fan that is pissed off and is doing something here. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Jim says you need to fix your internet. Yeah, you think? Imagine look, I'm not going to say the company's name and throw anyone under the bus, but I had someone from the company come to my house a couple of weeks ago. Nice guy and everything. Dude, he knew nothing. He was calling other technicians for help. I'm thinking of switching. I got to figure that out. But anyway, we're here to talk about Hopkins, not my freaking internet service. But I like what the Chiefs are doing with their roster right now. This is not a team that ever gives up on anything. I mentioned earlier, last year when they had a couple of humiliating losses to the Broncos and to the Raiders, they didn't feel sorry for themselves. And you couldn't even tell as the week went on when they were prepping for the next game. So following the Broncos loss, they were getting ready for the Dolphins in Germany. And following the Raiders loss, they were getting ready for the Bengals on New Year's Eve. The way the Chiefs players and coaches were just talking in their media interviews, press conferences, it didn't seem like they were really all that upset. It really didn't feel like that at all. I mean, they were out there smiling, feeling good about themselves. rather than being sorry for the team and everyone else. Like they weren't complaining or any of that. Same exact thing this year. I mean, they're 6-0. Yeah, the only unbeaten team in the NFL, but they have a reason to maybe pout and feel bad about the team and everything going on right now with all these injuries. Because I said earlier in the week, if you told me that Hollywood, Rice, Pacheco, I mean, if you told me all of these guys in Mahomes leading the NFL in interceptions, if you told me all of those injuries would happen and Mahomes would lead the league in picks, I would have said, man, I'm kind of wondering if the Chiefs would even be a 500 team at this point. They're undefeated at this point, and they're adding DeAndre Hopkins to the mix. So before, things got out of hand here, by the way, Chris Jones just tweeted, I think he just woke up. He just tweeted, "Let's go," with a bunch of O's there. So, yeah, there are some Chiefs players that are just now waking up to the news. Athletes sleep for a long time, man. They really do. But today's going to be the first day of practice getting ready for the Raiders. And boy, I'm sure the team is going to be feeling pretty good coming into that training facility today. So I'm excited to see the reactions, all that stuff. Patrick Mahomes is going to be talking later in his press conference. I know it's not official yet, so I don't know how much they can really comment on this stuff, but there's no doubt the media is going to be asking questions. No question about it. Hey, we got to keep this short because I know you all have places to be. I don't think we've ever done. DQ is asking a really good question, by the way. Is D-Hop going to be at practice today? I'm sure he'll be there. I'm sure he will. It would not shock me if he is on a flight right now or already was. Listen, by the time we got the news about Davante Adams, Adams actually got on a flight shortly after the Jets Monday Night Football loss. So that deal had already been in the works long before he was coming in for a physical. So I think the way this all works out is the deal is not official yet. Hopkins has to come in for a physical. He passes the physical. The trade's done. They get the conditional fifth round pick that could turn into a 4th round pick. So I think that's the only thing we're waiting on. So I'm guessing Hopkins is literally on a flight as we speak and is on his way to Kansas City. So I'm sure he's going to be meeting with a lot of players today. So it's going to be a very exciting day. We've never done 2 episodes of the Chiefs Zone podcast in one day, and we're making it an exception. When times like this are going on, you got to do multiple podcasts in a day. So I'll be back later today. I'll be back in less than 12 hours. 7 p.m. Central Time. We will talk more about DeAndre Hopkins coming to Kansas City, some of the reactions that are out there, and we'll break down the game between the Chiefs and the Raiders taking place in Vegas this Sunday as the Chiefs look to remain undefeated on the road. Hey, appreciate you guys waking up with me. For those of you listening to the podcast later, which is probably a bunch of you guys, I appreciate all of you guys. Thanks for everything you guys have done with the podcast, sharing all the content, all that good stuff. Boy, DeAndre Hopkins, a Kansas City Chief, unofficially, but should be official very soon. I'm Farzin Vasugian. I'll talk to you all later today. Take care. Enjoy your Wednesday.